Okay, let's get this started. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been so nice to see you all in a Saturday afternoon after a heavy lunch, maybe. So, thank you so much for joining. I welcome you all on behalf of the Chennai OutSystems user group and part of the OutSystems community. So, people who have been the first time joining the session, I'll just give you a gist of the community. So, community is the place where you have full access and freedom to ask your questions, share your ideas, share your development efforts, and connect with others in the OutSystem world. You can bookmark our community page outsystems.com/community to get all the updates. And you have a newsletter. You can subscribe to our newsletter through your OutSystems profile. So daily you'll be getting the recent updates on the ideas shared by people, the components, the forge components, and the questions asked in the forums. You'll be getting it in a daily email. And for speaking about the user groups, we have user groups across the world in different regions, and we belong to the Chennai user group. And we have two special, we can say, channels or parts like OutSystems Champion and OutSystems MVP. So the application is not open till now. So you'll be getting notified once the application is open. If you have goodwill to share your thoughts and everything to the community, you can always apply, and you are welcome to be a part of Champion and MVP program. And we have the ODC training. It's been going on. We have the OutSystems Cloud Native ODC has been developed, and already there are lots and lot of people got certified in ODC, and now we have the architecture specialist certification also available in ODC. So it's been a very what's to say a high cap in the market. So try to get your ODC slots as soon as possible and give your hands-on experience. And we have the OutSystems Developer School. So people who have been very new to OutSystems, the platform, or if you want to nominate others to be the part of the platform, you are always welcome to nominate them as part of the OutSystem Developer Schools, where you'll be getting trained by well efficient and experienced trainers. And at the end of the Developer School session, you will be having an option to select a free voucher, and you can use the voucher to schedule your reactive examinations. And if you want to share your expertise, or if you want to share your comments or anything which should be a more positive critique, you are always welcome to share it through our research program. You can sign up to the research program, and you can participate in the research activities. We are having the OutSystem community research program members. They'll be reaching out to you on the specialized or expertise area which you have signed up. So they'll be giving you some small sessions, and they want your expertise or feedback they need, and you'll be getting rewarded for each and every session, not only as badges and also as vouchers and coupons. So try to be a part of the research program. That will be a very useful to maintain a developer based platform experience. And we have the rules of engagement for the session. So this is a webinar based session. The presenter mode or the microphone mode will be disabled for all the participants. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop in the Q&A box, or if the Q&A box is not visible, please drop it in the chat box. Your questions will be answered, and we have a moderator to answer it. And if you have any like queries regarding the session, if the audio is dropped or the video is not visible, please let us know so that we can maintain the quality. Okay, and this is a recorded session, and the session recording will be available after the content screening process, and we'll be having an option to fill the feedback form on the wrap-up email. So please try to give a positive feedback, or which will enable us to do more in the user group session. And speaking about the Chennai user group session, we have Hathy Mary and Krishnnambal. They're organizing the session very nicely, and this session has been a typical advantage for developers. If you have any queries or comments related to the user group, reach out to Hathy Mary or Krishnnambal. And today we are going to start our session titling the Advanced SAP Integrations. So this session is being something which has been asked by the community through our like the LinkedIn posts. Like we saw chats stating we need this session to be taken care. This topic has to be covered. So from the user group point of view, we heard you and we want to deliver the session. And we have the speaker for today, Krishnnambal. Krishnnambal leads the training unit at Zebia, and a prominent speaker within the OutSystem community. So Krishnaval has actively participated in numerous user group events, like both as a speaker and as a mentor, sharing her expertise in organizing sessions and delivery. So with over 4 years of experience in community, Krishnaval has been recognized as the MVP by OutSystems and had trained many developers and tech leads to achieve their low-code journey paths. So alongside Hathy Mary, Krishnamal has successfully organized many Chennai user group events, to be specific, and delivered numerous sessions. Even if you go and search for some specific topic, you will be seeing Krishnambal's video on top of everything. So with a very special note, I want to welcome Krishnambal, the speaker who needs no introduction. And thank you so much, Krishnambal, for taking your time and giving your valuable effort to share this session. Thank you so much. And over to you, Krishnambal.
Okay, thank you so much, Jerome. That indeed was a very, very detailed introduction about me. But I'm glad. Thank you so much for taking the time to prepare this much and uh, very well be able to articulate it in a very neat way. And yeah, I'm so happy to be presenting for the Chennai user group. As everybody already knows, I have been organizing session as part of the Chennai user group for a couple of years now. So yeah, looking forward to today's session. And yeah, guys, one more thing. In the Chennai user group earlier, we wouldn't let participants, we would have disabled the mic facility, but now we have enabled it so. But yeah, for time being, if you have any questions, do post it in the Q&A window. And at the end, we will be at least be allocating 5 minutes of time for a discussion or such. So in that time, feel free to interact with us via via the microphone facility that is enabled for you, okay, in Bevy. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay. In the meantime, I would like to ask you a question. What is REST API? You can unmute and answer very well. Otherwise, if you are fine providing the answer in the chat, that is also fine. Anyone? What is a REST API? Okay. Oops. Okay. Okay, fine. So REST APIs are, I wouldn't go into the technical definition of it, but the major advantage of REST API is it acts as the means with which you can extend OutSystems. Okay, so OutSystems is a leader in the low code space, right? It is a leader majorly because of its facility or of its capability to integrate with anything and everything very easily. Okay, be it with UiPath, be it with Twilio, or be it with any other technology that you may be aware of. Okay, so how do you integrate? Majorly, the integration would be via a REST API. Okay, REST API makes it possible to leverage any service, okay, without or irrespective of the technology in which the API is being defined. So you can develop a REST API in OutSystems and you can consume it in a Java application. You can, develop a REST, not only REST API, well, obviously it applies for SOAP as well. So if you develop an API, say in .NET, C#, and then if you have to consume it somewhere in another low-code platform like Mendix, you can very well do it. Right, so that is the major advantage, and that is the difference between a normal server action and a REST API, because whatever the server action you define here in this particular folder server action, it would be confined to use only within this environment, right? Currently, I have my personal environment open. So I will be able to use this particular server action or client action only within this environment, even though I keep it public. What if I want to define a service that is reusable even with systems that are external, right? Or be it with another technology, right? So that has been made possible only via REST APIs, not REST APIs, APIs. Okay, so today we will be focusing majorly towards REST API. Okay, so let me just quickly list the agenda. firstly, we will be seeing how to consume a simple REST API, okay, using get method. And then we will be seeing how to consume a REST API, that uses post method. Then we will see how to consume a REST API where we will be with post method again, but where we will be passing binary data, a file as input. Okay, so these are the three major things that we'll be focusing on. And at the end, there shall be a quiz of 10 questions. So the winners of the quiz, the top 3 winners, shall be getting swag kits, as you are already aware. So let's get started. Let me quickly create an application, okay, a new application, because I firmly believe that showing things from scratch would help people relate to the content more. So even though we waste like 2 or 3 minutes for the impact, I normally prefer creating things from scratch. So I'll say, so I have created a reactive application. So that is where I am planning to showcase you all the REST APIs consumption. In the meantime, let me open Postman. So the first API that we are going to consume would be a simple REST API that I got from Postman, okay? So even if you have an account in Postman, if you expand this particular collection called public REST API, you will find a list of, you will find a list of folders. So yeah, I'm just going to consume this particular API called Earthquake, as it involves input parameters as well. Okay, so this is a sample API, and yeah, this is the URL. Let me try testing this API to understand how the output looks like. So I'll simply click on send. So Postman is one powerful tool that would help you in testing your API extensively, because there are certain features that are not available or wouldn't be that handy in Service Studio. So throughout the demo, what we will be doing is, if you have an API, okay, first step is to go through the documentation of the API. In this case, since it's a very, very simple API, Postman hasn't provided any such documentation. But if we are going to integrate to an external system via an API, definitely there will be a documentation. Okay, so the first step is to go through that documentation. Okay, and second step is to test that API in Postman. And third step is to convert this implementation or whatever you tested in Service Studio, so that it gets worked, even in Service Studio. Okay, so these are the 3 major steps. Now, yeah, I did nothing. This API was there. I simply clicked on send, and this is the output of the API. Okay, so let's see how to consume this API and display this content as an OutSystems application. Okay, so let me copy the URL. Let me go to Service Studio. In order to integrate, go to the Logic tab, go to REST, right click, click on consume. And this is a single method. I just have one URL to consume, and that just does only one functionality. So it could just be a single method. Let me click on continue. Okay. So this is very important, the method URL. So here they have clearly mentioned the URL to be get. So I would stick to get, and I have pasted the URL. Okay. And let me click on test. So the code is 200. So whenever the code is greater than or equal to 200 and less than 400, it means it's not an error. Okay, it's not an error code, and things have got or things have gone through properly. Okay, so if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the output. Okay, firstly there is a metadata, and then the feature list, which would provide the information about the earthquake. Okay, so this is the output that we are getting. When it comes to OutSystems, integration to an external system via REST API is very easy. In this case, we are not connecting to any external system. Okay, it's just a random API that I'm consuming just for the demo's sake. That's all. So calling this API is providing me a data. providing me data about earthquakes. So this is the format of the data. Okay, it's a JSON. Okay, and it provides details about list of earthquakes that happened from this date to this date. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll simply, so this is the output. Now there is a very cozy feature in Service Studio where this button called copy to response body. So if you click on this button, whatever the response that we have got here in the test tab, it will be copied to the body tab. Okay, the response in the body tab. So as soon as this response is copied to the body tab, OutSystems will now know, oh, okay, so this is how the response of this REST API would be. So it will have metadata, which again itself, which itself has multiple sub items within it, and then we have features within it. We have type, properties, all of these. So OutSystems will now know the structure. So if I click on finish, OutSystems would have automatically created an output parameter whose structure is very similar to the JSON that we have in front of us. Okay, so this is one easy feature, but I'm not going to click on finish right away. So I have small changes to be made, okay, in the existing URL, which is here the start time and end time part. It's not, this date is nothing but a varying thing, right? It's a variable. So this remaining this URL is standard, although I can very well make sure to change the format as well, but I don't want to complicate things much during the demo. So this part is static, right? But this part is dynamic, which means I would want the end user to pick a date in the runtime, okay, in my OutSystems application, and that date must be dynamically added to the URL. So I must get the output for that particular date. So this is my intention. So if you want to do it this way, where you want to introduce a variable in a REST API URL, then the best way to do it is add open and close parenthesis. Within this, just type, I would like to give, say, start date. Okay, so as soon as I type something within open and close parenthesis, it automatically created an input parameter, a variable, right? Similarly, okay, that's it. Okay, so it has created two variables. Now, if I have to test this API, all I have to do is provide value to these variables rather than typing it or hard coding it directly in the URL. Okay, so this is the format, a very simple. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Click on test. Again, it was a successful call. So yeah, now I have replaced the URL with variables, and we have tested, we have copied the response body to the response tab, and to the body tab. So I'm done. Let me click on finish. So with this wizard that I have in front of me, I created input parameters and output parameters would have automatically got created. So as you can see, OutSystems is automatically created input parameter, output parameter. And if you expand the output parameter, you will see the distinguished structure it has created, okay, which exactly mimics the JSON output that we had got, okay, a couple of minutes ago. Don't you see, in such cases, OutSystems saves us a lot of time. This is actually a very complicated structure. And if you are aware of data structure, OutSystems is kind of making things easier for us. It's actually a tree structure if you picturize it, okay? But with the simple concept called structure in OutSystems, it's showing everything as a structure, right? So you don't have to worry too much about the other data structures, because everything kind of gets bound inside a normal structure, okay, that is available in OutSystems. That's it. Okay, so I have successfully consumed my API. Now it's time for me to create a simple screen where I'll be able to use or call this API, and where I can show you the output. Okay. I would not take the time to explain this part, as I assume all of you are already aware of how to create a local variable and how to create a form. Okay, I've successfully created a form. Let me just say now something relevant. Fetch earthquakes. Okay, and clicking on this button should call the API. One more thing, you cannot call a REST API method directly from a client action. Oh, 1 minute. Okay, my bad. Okay, so I have called the REST API method directly from the client action fetch earthquake on click. So this action would be called when I click on the fetch earthquakes button. Okay, so all I have to give is a start date and an end date. Let's provide it right away. That's it. Okay. Let me create a local variable. So if you pay attention, the earthquake details are present inside the features structure. Okay, so it's in fact the features list that has the earthquake details. So I'll just create another local variable called features. So OutSystems, okay, automatically guesses the data type based on the name I give. I'll simply assign the output that we have got from the API to the features local variable. I'll simply drag and drop a table widget to the canvas. Okay, and here I'll drag and drop the features. So type, magnitude, place, time. Okay, this looks good. So that's it. Okay, so let's click on publish. So consumption is fairly a very easy task. Just define the API. I mean, not define. So consume the API from the logic tab. It would create a method for you. Just call that method like any other server action or client action. Okay. It's 354. Okay, so let me pick a date, say May 2 to May 3. Okay, let's click on fetch earthquakes. Let's see what happens. Okay, as you can see, these are the list of earthquakes that have happened between May 2nd to May 3rd. As per the API, you can very well paginate, okay, to improve the UI. You can very well do a lot of other operations from the data that is being fetched from the API. Either you can sync this data that the API has provided you to your local entities or your database entities, and then take things from there. Or if you simply wish to read it and display it onto the screen like we did, you can very well do that, of course. Okay, so this is about consuming a simple REST API, okay, using get method. Now let's move on to the next use case, which is consuming a REST API with with post method. Okay, for that I would like to consume a REST API of Twilio. So we use Twilio to send OTPs not OTPs, but to make calls or to send messages, receive calls, so for all these purposes. Okay, and if we want to leverage or use any of the Twilio APIs, then there are certain prerequisites, okay, which I'll not be covering in this session. I'll only be focusing on how to consume that API, okay, in OutSystems. Okay, so let me show you what we are going to achieve before diving into the demonstration of it. So I'm going to log into an application. So in order to log into the application, there are two steps. First step is to provide the username and password. If the username and password is right, I'll be redirected to this screen where I'll be entering my phone number. Okay, so as soon as I provide my phone number here, I will get an OTP. Okay, when I click on send OTP, it will provide me an OTP. I mean, I'll get an OTP in my phone. Providing it would verify me, and then I'll be able to log into my application successfully. Okay, so just to be on the safer side, I'll just check if. Okay. So let me provide my. Okay. Okay. So when I click on, an OTP has been sent. So if I can show you from my camera, I have received this OTP. Okay, not sure if it is clearly visible to you, but this is all I've got. Okay, from. Okay, so I've got an OTP. Let me enter the OTP. Okay, 1 minute. 62528. Okay, that's it. So the provided OTP was right. Now I'll either be redirected to a screen, or I've been redirected to the dashboard of the application. Okay, so this is what we had implemented in my previous session. Okay, for the Singapore user group. Now what we are going to focus in this session is how did we achieve it? Simply, how are we integrating with Twilio? Okay, so the means with which I send OTPs to my mobile phone is via Twilio system. So how do I integrate with Twilio? So for that, we have this exclusive component called Twilio connector. So if you come across, I mean, you might have come across many connector components in Forge, and all of them are nothing but REST API calls. Wrappers, okay, so nothing but REST APIs. They would have consumed REST APIs, and there would be wrappers around it, which you will be consuming from your application. That's it. So if you understand how to develop a REST, not develop, but how to effectively consume, of course, and how to effectively develop a REST API, you can create many connectors. Because most of the Forge components, the motive of the component would be to integrate to an external system, and that external system, that core means would be a REST API. Okay, so be it OutSystems or MVPs or any potential person who's really good with REST API integration, they would have created connectors and they would have uploaded it in Forge. Okay, so if I open the Twilio connector, it's nothing but a REST API call. Okay, these are the REST API methods. If I open one of the methods, so this is the method that I'm going to show you, that I'm going to show how to consume it, okay, in our OutSystems application. So there are REST API methods, and similarly there will be wrappers around these REST API methods. You will just be calling these wrappers from your end user application. Wrappers in the sense server actions that call these REST APIs, because REST API methods can't be set public. Okay, but if you want to set it public, then you need a wrapper server action which can be made public. Inside this wrapper server action, you will be calling the actual API method. So message send message is one of the methods. So if I open Twilio message, this is a wrapper. If you open the server action, you will find this API call here. and this server action will in turn be called. So it really a simple message again. It's another wrapper. So if you open Singapore OSUG demo, is nothing but one of the applications I created during the session. So there, all I am doing is just calling this wrapper action, that is exposed from the producer module Twilio connector. Okay, so now we are going to see how to consume an API, okay, that kind of enables us to send OTPs to our mobile phones. Okay, fine. So you're wondering, okay, you wish to connect to Twilio, but you're wondering where can I find the APIs for Twilio? So if you simply Google Twilio APIs to send OTP messages, you will get the detailed documentation. I've already bookmarked them for time being. So 3 relevant URLs. So if you are going to create a connector, okay, to connect to any external system, just browse and understand the APIs and go through the documentations that are provided in order to consume the API. Okay, so this is the documentation, API overview. So in order to send message, you will get detail about every functionality if you go further down. But in the beginning, they have clearly mentioned that the base URL for all these APIs that shall be defined, okay, in the remaining part of the screen, it will have the base URL to be this https api.twilio.com. Okay, so this would be the base URL, and then if it's a send message, then it would you will be adding say /send message, after the date, the base URL. Okay. Now, authentication of these APIs, it's a basic authentication, which means the GET API that we saw previously does not have any authentication. So it was anybody can use the API, but it's not the case with Twilio API. You need username and password. So here they have defined what you must use as a username, what you must use as a password. Username would be SID, account SID, password would be auth token. So by reading these documentations, I'll understand how to use the API. Okay, here you don't have to understand what auth token is or what your application SID, account SID is. All you need to remember is go through the documentation to understand how to use a particular API. And if I open send message, okay, so I don't have enough details here, right? So I have the other tabs where you can find the relevant details. So like we saw in the previous tab, this is how we need to authenticate the API. Then so this is a sample implementation with C#, I believe. Okay. So this is how they have defined. Say /accounts. 1 minute. Yep. So this is how they have defined the API. Okay, so this is a very high level documentation. If I dig in deep, okay, if I click on send message as such, I believe so I'll be getting more information about how to use the send message API. Okay, to send media messages, to schedule an output message. Okay, so here they have defined the steps on how to get the account SID, how to get the authorization token. Okay, and a sample implementation. Okay, so let's not invest a lot of time here, but all I would like to say is if a client is saying that you need to integrate with an external system, get or ask for a documentation from them, okay, to consume the API effectively. Or if in such cases where you need to integrate with something to achieve something, say to achieve OTP being sent to my phone, I'm using Twilio. So in such cases, you have to browse, okay, and to understand how to use the API. But thanks to all our community members, they have already done all these researches and they have created these ready-made connectors. Okay, so all you need to do is just follow the instructions on how to use the connector and call the server actions that are made public there. That's it. So they have taken the time to do their research on how to consume the API. Okay, what method to use, what are the different input parameters, what are the different output parameters. Okay, so you need to do that research. Okay, if you don't have a Forge component readily, but you need to integrate to that particular system. Okay, so let me go and consume. So I have the URL ready. Okay, for sending messages. Okay, from Twilio. Okay, to your mobile phone. So this is the API. Let me paste this API. I don't have a clear documentation for this. We had multiple when I browsed, there were multiple articles. So I had to go through each of them to to understand and implement. And it was a trial and error process. I did not get it right in the first go. I just tried different means here in Service Studio, and successfully one way suited, and I got the output. Okay, so first step is place the URL in the URL section. It's a post, so I'll change the method URL to post. So the difference between get and post majorly is in get you will send the input parameters, okay, in the URL. There is nothing in the body. Let me cancel this. Let me show you the earthquake method. So you will pass nothing in the body. Okay, nothing in the sense, nothing explicit or no explicit parameters or arguments. They won't be passed in the body. Instead, they are being passed in the URL. Okay, in get. But in post, you will pass content or parameters or values in the request body. Okay, not just in the URL, but also in the request body. So which will not be visible, okay, in the as a query string in your URL. So let me right click, let me consume, choose add single method, place the URL, change it to post, and like we saw earlier, they have provided a placeholder to to place our account SID. So here I have to provide the value for account SID. Like we read in the documentation, this particular API needs authentication. Okay, so go to the headers and authentication part, and in the authentication section, choose basic authentication. So as soon as you choose basic authentication, it will ask you for the username and password. Okay, so username would be nothing but account SID, password would be nothing but auth token. Just don't worry about these fancy terms. So provide the username and password, that's it. If it's basic authentication, then you need to provide your username and password here. Then, so in order to send a message to your phone, you need a from phone number, to phone number, and a body. Right? We couldn't, actually I had not bookmarked the, the details or the page where the from to all these details are mentioned. Let me try to check once again. If I find it, then that will be really useful for you. Otherwise, yeah, it's there, but we need to look for it. That's the problem. Yeah, okay. So I guess I have got it. Okay. So this is the send message definition. So these are the properties. Okay, as you can see, there is a from. So there are these many parameters that you can use while calling the API send message. So there is from, to, body. So these are the required ones. Okay. So let's see how to add those, okay, to our REST API, I mean here in this wizard. So account SID, it's asking for account SID. I have it handy here in my notepad. So I'll just paste it here. Okay, that's all. Now I need to pass from to body, right? So let me just click on test here. Let's see what happens. Can you see it says 400 bad request because I'm passing nothing inside the API. It says a 2 phone number is required. Okay, and I've got an error code as well. So let's try passing, but yeah. So I'll just test this in Postman. I have already, okay. So this is the API. I've already tested it in Postman. So this I've placed the URL post, and then yeah, I chose form URL encoded as it was mentioned in the documentation that we must use form URL encoded. And I added these. So in the body, I have to pass from to body. Okay, in the body, I have to add all of these and pass. Okay, so most of us get stuck in this point because here they would have given this example, open curly, open bracket, I mean open parenthesis, close parenthesis, mention it as a key value pair. But you must understand the difference between this key value pair and a simple text. Okay, say if I pass things this way from, say something like, I have a number. Okay, so I've added a request. I thought this would be the way to add or pass the arguments in the body. So I tried clicking on test and I got the same error. It says 400 bad request, and if I scroll down, it is saying the same. A 2 phone number is required, which means this is not the way to pass. Okay, the parameters. Then what are the other ways? So this is one way. The other way is, okay, 1 minute. So this was the body I had created. So all you have to do is, there are 3 things that I'm passing, right? It could be 4 or 5. So you need to mention the key. So where will I find? Why are you saying from? Why can't I say sender, receiver? Because as per the documentation, it is asking, or it is looking only for from. Okay, it's not looking for a sender. So if you go through the documentation here, it says body, it says from, it says to. You must use the exact same term so that the API will be able to recognize these keys when it sees the request. So provide the key, then equal to, then the value, and then and. So and or ampersand symbol would separate a parameter, it would help us separate parameters. Okay, so say from equal to, I have a phone number ready. So this phone number I got from Twilio. So only from this phone number I'll be able to send messages, okay, as per my account. Okay, I've got an error. Body could be anything. Oops. Sorry. say any number. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 or anything. Okay, maybe I'll enclose it inside. Seems to be fine. So let me click on test. So key and value separated by equal to, and one parameter separated from another parameter with ampersand. Okay. I have added a form. Okay. So give me a minute. Let me show you. Okay. So here I have it ready. So from would be equal to a value, and to would be equal to a value, and body would be equal to something. Okay. So can anybody tell me what mistake did we do here? The difference between this and this. This worked, but this did not work. Anyone would like to spot? Okay. So there was no double quotes, okay, earlier. Here in this window, but there is a double quote. There was a double quote here, which I have removed now. So let me try testing it. So as you can see, now the request went through. So these are the simple things which we miss. Because earlier I practiced it today morning, but I myself got confused, right? I provided a double quote now and I was wondering why was it not working, right? So I had to refer and do. So this is very, very important. That is why, you need to test your API prior in Postman so that you're confident that if I provide the, you are confident that you're using the right terms. Say from to body, I'm sure they are correct because it worked for me in Postman. So when I click on send, it will work for me in Postman. So I did get an OTP now, okay, to my mobile number. So the key is right. The method is right. Okay, and the content type is right. I'm sure about this. Okay, because this same thing is working for me in Postman. So first test the API in Postman. Now, if I have to go wrong here, what would possibly have gone wrong? It would be the way in which I'm drafting the request. Either it could be from open and close parenthesis, which I tried earlier, which did not work, and then I tried concatenating everything with an and. Okay, even then it did not work. Then I removed the double quotes. Then it worked. So these are certain difficulties that we still face with Service Studios unless you are so used to working with REST API integration, you will get it wrong most of the times. So these are the small details that you have to note down. Okay, so that's it. So I have got the response. Now what we will do is let me click on copy to response body. Okay, one more thing. Okay, let me click on copy to response body. I've successfully copied the response. Let me click on finish. If I expand the method, I've got an input parameter, account SID, and an output response. Okay, but something is missing. I gave from, I gave to, I gave body. Where are those? All I'm seeing is just one input parameter called account SID. So what has happened? So we got a response. We clicked on copy to response body to paste that response in the body tab, right? Similarly, if you're testing with this input, okay, just paste this request in the body tab again. So only if you paste the request body here in the body tab, it would automatically, OutSystems will automatically create the input parameters for you. Okay, the previous time we missed. Okay, so let me click on finish. Now it has automatically created as the input parameter. Okay, so now this API is perfectly working. Now you need to create the relevant UI, okay, to consume this and display the output. So I have I have a sample page, nothing special here. I'll just copy this sample page and I'll paste it here to save time. Okay, I'll just remove all these available screen actions and even generated OTP, entered OTP. Okay, I'll just remove the unnecessary items. Okay, say I'll pick a new image. What's the next error? There's phone number. So, okay, all this screen does is we'll be entering a phone number, and when I click on send OTP, the OTP needs to be sent. That's it. Okay. There are 3 more errors. Let me remove this button. Remove this. That's all. So this screen is where we will be providing the phone number via this text box, and when I click on send OTP, I should be able to send an OTP to my phone. So for that, I have already created this API. Guys, one more thing, when I tested it, I did get an OTP. Okay, but I did not stop sharing and I did not show my phone then, but I did get an OTP. So this API method will send OTP to your phone. Okay, whatever the number you enter in the screen, to that number from a phone number that I have configured in my Twilio account, I'll be able to send messages. So if I'll get the phone number, which is the to phone number, and when I click on send OTP, here I would like to call the action, not post, I'll say send messages. Okay. Okay. So I'll create a wrapper. The reason is account SID is something that I would not prefer to pass directly from a screen, okay, from the client side. So I'll just create a simple wrapper. This is a best practice, okay. Whenever you consume a REST API method, make sure to wrap it with a server action and then use this server action in turn from your screen actions. Okay, it's asking for account SID, so I'll create a site property to store the account SID. Okay. And then I'll pass this site property. From would be nothing but server action has an input parameter, right, called from. So I'll pass the from to from, to body to body. Okay. Now I have defined the wrapper clearly. Let me also create an output parameter called response. So response would be nothing but the response that I will get from the send message API method. Change the data type. So send messages response. Okay. Wrapper is ready. I'll name it as wrapper. Now I'll go to the screen action and I'll call this wrapper send simple message wrapper. Okay. Pass from to body. To is nothing but the phone number I enter in the UI, so which is stored in the local variable called phone number. Body would be you can generate an OTP and pass the OTP. For time being, I'm going to hard code this. Say hello world. Okay, just to be sure of to be sure whether you have got the recent OTP, you can very well say or send the current date time. It's up to you. The content. From would be nothing but the Twilio number I have the authority to send messages from. So this phone number you must configure certain things. You must pay Twilio and get this phone number. Okay, this is a registered phone number that I got from my trial account. So that's why I can only use this phone number in order to send messages or make calls. That's why I'm using this. Okay, from is set, to is set, body is set. And yeah, I'll display the response. Not needed. I'll simply say okay. That's it. So let's click on publish. So the core part which was something that we saw via the REST API wizard, okay, where we entered, we provided the input parameters, we separated them with and we understood what the key is, what the value is, and how to pass it, and the copy to response body, pasting the content from the test tab to the body tab, and OutSystems automatically creating the input parameter, output parameters. That is the core motive of today's session. This is nothing to this. These are all some extra fittings that I'm doing to provide you output, okay, which you can visualize from the UI. Okay. And this is a format I must follow when I send OTPs to via Twilio, which is I need to add my country code, okay, before my phone number. Message has been sent successfully. I'll check. Yep, I have received an SMS with the current date and time. Okay, I don't think so it will be clear to you, but yeah, I just received an SMS. So this call was successful. Okay, so this is how you need to pass or you need to consume a REST API with post method. Okay, so let me make a mistake, not asking for questions now, as I would prefer covering things and then look into the Q&A. Okay, when you are waiting for the quiz part. So let me remove the from phone number. Okay, which would definitely create an error. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm not passing anything as from. Let me publish. Okay, let me click on send OTP. Can you see it says 400 bad request? I know what I did wrong, which is I did not pass from, but this error 400 bad request conveys nothing to me. I'm wondering what went wrong. Okay, so it's important for me to it is important for me to convey the exact message. Okay, whenever I commit such mistakes. So when ideally what has happened is the wrapper is called, within the wrapper I'm calling the REST API, but the REST API threw an error. Okay, so we got yes, the REST API threw an error, and we are not sure what was actually the error. Okay, so go to your API, understand how it works. Let me make a sample mistake. Say I'll remove the F. Okay, it's just ROM. When I commit this, can you see it says 400 bad request? And if I scroll down, I'm getting this information: code, message, more info, status. So I need this code. Like it says 21603, a from thing is missing. This needs to be displayed in the UI, not simply 400 bad requests. So 400 bad requests is showing up majorly because it is being the exception is being caught by the global exception handler. I don't want that. I want to handle this error as soon as I get the response, okay, from the API. Okay, and this behavior is not only for this particular screen or this particular action or this particular module. No, whenever an API is called, whenever I call the send message API, before sending the response back to the client, it must evaluate the output that is got. If it is an error output, then I must send this detailed error message to the client. So that is my, or at least I should throw the relevant exception message, okay, in the UI. So in order to achieve this, what should we do? So this is where we will use the callback action on after response. So there are two callback actions associated to a REST API. So if you click on the API, if you scroll down, you will find these two options: on before request, on after response. On before is nothing but before sending the request. Say I'm passing from to all these, right? So, okay, one sample example I would like to provide is to the user. Sometimes he or she would add the country code and send the from the mobile number. Sometimes they miss. Okay, they may miss. In such cases, instead of saying irrelevant number, invalid number, you can check the number. If it's 10 digits, then you must make sure to add plus and the country 91, the country code in front of the provided mobile number. Or if you just know the country of the user, you add the relevant mobile number before making the actual API call. And this needs to be done whenever I call the send message API. This should automatically be happening. So in such cases, I would go for the on before request callback action, as it will be called every time. Okay, before actually calling the API method, this action, this callback would run. It would concatenate the country code in front of the provided mobile number, and then it will send the request. So this is one example for on before request. And on after response is nothing but the one we discussed now, right? So I've got the response, but if it's an error code, then I need to throw a Twilio exception, a new kind of exception where I'll display the Twilio message, the code and stuff. Okay, so how to do it? So Twilio, I'll yeah, I'll just choose on after response. I would not go for advanced as my implementation isn't that low level. So if you, as soon as you click on the option, it will create a callback. Input would be response, the actual response the API provides, and customized response is the output, which means if you open this, we would have this simple assignment. Whatever I have got as response, assign it to customized response. And this customized response is what would reach the client. Okay, so this would be the default definition. You need to add your own logic. So if I'll check the response code. Okay, if response code is less than 200, or if it is greater than or equal to 400, it means it's an error code. If it's 201, it is right? If it's 200, it is right. But if it's less than 200, then it's a problem. And if it's greater than 400, it's a problem. This is a standard logic to understand if the request was a success or not. Okay, so I have many status code, status line, response text, response binary. I believe I'll stick to status code is where we will get the code, whether it is 400 or 200. Okay. It's an or. It could either be this or that. It could be 199, then it's an error. If it's 401, it's an error. So 401, so check 401 is less than 200, no. Or 401 is greater than or equal to 400. That's right. So it will be true, then it means it's an error code. Okay, if it's true, then raise an exception. Say Twilio exception. So here I'll display the error code. Just so we see the entire output, I'll display everything. Status code plus status line plus response text plus, yeah, this is fine. Okay, and close. So I have not passed any from. From is empty. So this time I will definitely get an error. Let's publish, but all I have done is defined an on after response callback. So let's see the difference now. We are almost done. We'll be done in another 5 minutes. Please be with me. So let's refresh the screen. You click on send OTP. So this time I'm getting a more relevant message, right? Because I defined a callback on after response, which gets executed, checks the error code. It's 400, which means it's an error. It raises the Twilio exception. And as part of the Twilio exception, it's displaying the error message, the actual error message, okay, with which the exception was called. So when I triggered this exception, I defined, right, what should be displayed as the message, right? This was the message. So this is being handled by the global exception handler. As part of the global exception handler definition, the error message, the exception message is being displayed, okay, in our UI in this format. So if you pay closer attention, it is the status code that gives the details. Sorry, response text is where you will get the Twilio details. So now you'll properly leverage it, deserialize this and store it in proper structure and display it in a more legible way, okay, in your project. Okay, so this is one instance where a callback is really handy. Okay, so go for callback actions when you feel like in every implementation of this API or in every consumption of this API, certain logic must happen before and after calling the REST API method. So in those cases, you must go for callbacks rather than defining it in a screen action or a server action. In that case, only in that particular usage, it will be applicable, right? But for all usages, if you want to implement something, then go for callbacks. Okay. Then the last part of today's session is we saw post, but our input parameters were simple. That the input parameters were either text or say were basic data types, right? So what if we want to pass a complex data type as input? Say what if we want to pass a file, okay, to a REST API? So we'll see that real quick. So how to do it? So let me right click. I have an API, so I have the documentation ready for the API. So the API is called upload movie poster. So this is a URL of the API, and the expectation of the API is nothing but it would ask for a movie ID, okay, in the URL. So provide a movie ID, okay, yeah, provide a movie ID, and then you need to pass the poster image, okay, in the body. Okay, so that's the expectation. So let's implement it real quick. Okay, 1 minute, guys. Okay, 1 minute. So consume, add single method, paste. 1 minute, guys, give me a minute. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Yeah. So sorry, so sorry. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, so here movie ID would be say 1. Now I need to pass this parameter, right, which is the poster, which is an image, a binary data file as input. So how can I pass? So you can't add anything here in the wizard. Just test, nothing would happen. It says 405 method not allowed. It's fine, just leave it. Let's click on it. Please click on finish. So whenever binary data is involved, you won't be able to test it from Service Studio. Okay. So all you need to do is expand, add another input parameter. Okay, I forgot to change the method URL. It is post finish poster. Okay, let me choose binary data. And whenever you pass binary data, make sure, okay, the request format should be in form URL encoded. Okay, and whenever it is form URL encoded, the data should be passed in the body. 1 minute. Can't send binary data when request body of a method with form URL. 1 minute. Sorry. It's not form URL encoded. It is multi-part form data. Okay. So these are the three things. Methods request format should be multi-part form data, and the binary data should be passed in the body. That's it. Now, if I call this, you create a screen. Okay. I have already implemented it here. Let me show you. Not here. 1 minute. I've created a simple screen where I'll upload a poster. Okay, so here. Let's post it. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, we'll be done. Yes. Okay. Okay, so I have created a screen where we provide the movie ID, a poster. Clicking on save would call the wrapper. In the wrapper, I'll be calling the API. API definition is simple, okay, which is method. It should be multi-part form data. and the file should be passed in body. That's it, nothing much, and the response is sent. Okay, so I'll just test this part. Open in browser. Let me upload. Some random picture. Save. Movie uploaded successfully. Similarly, we can test it here in Postman as well. Paste the URL and then yeah, choose the relevant content type. Okay, and provide or maybe I can again do it right away. Time permits. Not new collection. I need a new API. HTTP. Okay, post. I have the documentation readily available. So in such cases, consumption is very, very easy. Movie ID. I'll pass the movie ID to be say 3, and in the body, I need to pass the poster. Okay, file. Okay, it will be it's a file. Okay, let me select a file. OTP1. Okay, I've uploaded it. Now let me call the API. So I chose form data here, and I got the response, which is movie uploaded successfully. Okay, so this is how you need to test the API from Postman, and we similarly consumed it from Service Studio. So with this, I'm done with today's demo. Okay, so we saw about post, get, callback actions, and how to pass a complex file as input to a REST API. So I believe this session was useful to you, and I'll make sure to address all the Q&A. Okay, what was presented in the Q&A section, maybe via chat for time being, as we are running out of time. So I would like to hand over the session to the hosts, Jerome and Kirtana. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Okay, thank you. Yes, I could see many of you have provided the answer. Okay, yes, please. Jerome, I can't hear you.
Now, am I audible? Okay, this happens to me in all the meeting. I don't know why. Okay, thank you so much for the session, Krishnnambal. Thank you for your time and agreeing with the topic to make. And it's a really curated session. I can see it. So, and I hope some of the topics it would be very useful for us in our development journeys, like to be specific, multi-part and everything. Thank you. People, if you have any questions, please drop in the chat box.
Yeah,
So let's just wait for a minute. If you have any questions, we'll address it.
sure. Thank you. Okay. Uh, Jerome, I guess we can continue with the quiz. And
Okay.
if we have any questions, I'll answer those via the chat window. Okay.
I think we're just getting questions. So okay, let's move with the chat and move with the quiz. Before that, I just want a small announcement to make. So like as we said, the masterclass 1 and 2, the quiz results, we are correlating it. So soon we'll be getting the results who got the first, second, and third for the masterclass sessions. So for today's quiz, I would like to invite Mrs. Kirtana Kannan to host the quiz. And over to Kirtana.
Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for the wonderful session, Krishnnambal. And I'm moving to quiz. Sharing my screen. Okay. This is the same thing, and everyone need to join kahoot.it or scan this one, and we can start. Let's wait for some time. Only 10 members were joined. If anyone facing any issues, let us know in our chat. Let's wait for 2 more seconds. I think let's start the quiz. If anyone facing any issues, let's start the quiz. Sorry for the inconvenience. It was restarted, I think. So just scan this one or go to kahoot.it. Let's wait for 2 more minutes and let's start the quiz. Okay, let's start the quiz. This is the first question. question is, what should be the first step while consuming a REST API? The answer was read the API documentation. 30 members was correct. And Roshan Nayak is on first place. And the second question is, with HTTP method post, the request data is passed in the body. The next question is, to make sure the error thrown by the REST API is captured during all its usage. What callback did we use? That is on after response. And the 31 members were correct. And some changes in scoreboard. And we go to next question. The next question is, to consume a REST API from Service Studio, where should you go? The answer is Logic tab. And still Mayur is on first place. Which symbol did we separate each input parameter of Twilio API in the REST body while testing in Service Studio? And the correct answer is AND. And some changes in scoreboard. Let's see. The next question is, what kind of authentication did the Twilio send message API use? The answer is basic. And some changes was happening. And the next question is, we have to explicitly paste request body from test tab to body tab for input parameters to be generated in Service Studio. So the answer is true. Expecting more members to be on the first 3 places, and we can go for next question. What was the response format of the send message Twilio API? The answer is JSON. I'm seeing more members are doing correct answers. And the next question is, for the response body to generate automatically, copy to response body button to be clicked before clicking on finish. The answer is true. And the final question, REST API authorization credentials can be updated from Service Studio. The answer is true. And we are going to see who are in first three places. Congratulations, Eric. Congratulations, Vaibhav. And the first position is congratulations, Nisha. Thank you so much. And send your details to me or Jerome or to Krishnnambal for swag kits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kirtana. So thank you everyone for joining the session. So as Kirtana mentioned, send me the name, your current residential address, the contact number, and the KYC detail for shipping. So please send it to Krishnnambal, Hathimari, me, or Kirtana. So we'll be tracking down your swag kits. You'll be getting swag kits directly from Portugal. And I especially want to thank Krishnamba for taking this time from the Saturday afternoon to giving us a very good insights on this API integration. Thank you, Krishnamba.
Thank you, everyone. And your response indeed convey that you paid full attention to the session. So thank you once again. And yeah, I have posted my LinkedIn URL here. So if you wish to communicate the relevant details for Swagkit, yeah, please do via LinkedIn. Yes, Jerome. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Krishnamal. It's indeed a great pleasure having you. So, people, you just, I hope you have learned from this topic. Take this topics, the learnings to your organization. And if you want any specific topics or suggestions you have, please post it to us using the user group page, or we'll be having a feedback form. Just send it to us and we'll make sure it is addressed. And after the content processing, the recording of this session will be uploaded in our YouTube channel, Chennai OutSystems User Group. Make sure you have just give a notification bell icon so that you are getting it posted. And if you want to be a speaker or volunteer through this user group, please let us know. We'll be so happy to have you here. And if you have any specific topic which you want us to address, please let us know. And just drop your experience and your suggestions in the chat box or through the email. And thank you everyone once again to join the session. It's been a wonderful session with all of you. And this is Jerome signing off. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Good day.